it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay.
We're here.
We did it. We did it. All the goblins show up and the gremlins show up like a minute out from every stream. It happens. All right. So we're back to Stronghold D&D. This is a bit of a, as I mentioned, we scripted this about 8 times just now, but so you guys, let's start back out. As I mentioned, you guys are back in Tiamat's temple, right? The battle's over. You guys had Loot Fest 2022 in the previous session, which was pretty awesome. Some of the OP items were given to a very low intelligence turtle anyways, so that's going to work out for the DM. But what we're going to do in this one is just kind of recap things that went on, and we're going to take a because of the elaborate backstories that some of you guys have, we can talk about them out loud, and then we can go into the 1 year later scenario as we build into it. So there you guys have it. I'll set the scene. You as you were digging through the loot and you were pulling you know, hammers out of hammers of thunderbolts and things like that. Thunderbolt? Yeah, thunderbolts out of piles of platinum. You know, I think Melandrak came in, Lady Lariel came in, and a few folks to talk to you, but then a bunch of like flaming fist representatives and who but anyways, oh, Connor, he's back. Dragunov, he's back. He's up. He's back. You notice that you know, representatives of the Flaming Fist come in, and then representatives of Neverwinter come in, and Waterdeep. They can let's see, can I get one of Krokgar or Kygon to mute one of you guys?
We're both muted.
Oh, you are? All right. I'm getting all sorts of feedsies, backsies. So anyways, at the treasure pile itself, at the Hoard of Tiamat, there's like a huge argument over who's getting what now, like as the representatives kind of show up of Faerun, and you guys may or may not, you know, you kind of like, yep, this is getting awkward now. You fold down Darren's tower and stuff like that, and you walk back outside. So as I was saying, you guys have the scene back. We're kind of walking out, you know, you guys see like cultists and things like that being you know, tied up, taken prisoner, and you know, being shuffled outside or whatever as the battle kind of ends. The entourage of Oldar Ravengard shows up as he's laying claim to, you know, what has, you know, what's rightfully owed to Baldur's Gate, you know, and it's kind of one of those scenes where everybody was just like super they were getting along, you know, as the end of the world was happening, but now everybody's kind of true colors are showing up as they're battling over, you know, parsing out the loot. How's the stream holding up?
I think it's doing okay.
Is that a struggle bot still?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm frozen over here, but it's all good. We'll get through it. It's a Sunday. At about 4 o'clock, when we close the session, Twitch will stop being jammed. It'll be all good. So there you guys go. Like we'll have it like this. Yeah, it keeps freezing in and out. What a bummer. That's sad.
Well, even Discord for me, like you're going blurry. Just the resolutions. I don't know. It's.
Oh really?
It's being stupid.
We live, we learn. It's all good. Okay, so so there you guys go. You guys can pick it up how you want, but where we're gonna go with this, like I said, you're gonna start in the temple. Is there anything that anybody else wants to gather or communicate while they're at the temple before you depart your own way? So before I ask the question and go around, where do you go next individually? is there anything that anybody wants to resolve in, you know, the temple as it's nice and as it's quiet? I think you guys still need a rest. Everybody's leveled up. So Dragonoff, you leveled up 2. Kaigon, Krokgar, you leveled up 2. Everybody else leveled up 1 for the time being.
So I'm going to go talk to Krokgar. Since we're both from the Sunset Mountains, we're going to go back together and kind of clean up the riffraff that's left behind back there.
Okay. So, yep. So also keep in mind that there's a gigantic Star Destroyer above you guys. Like Skyreach is sitting there. You know that Blagothgisk and like Steve hit it off, Stevelion, and Steve goes and I was it Glaziel? I think it was Glaziel who lived in Skyreach.
Yes.
Old Glaziel's old area. Steve's gonna, you know, he's like, yeah, this is nice and cozy. Even though they're more like what? They're more akin to a blue dragon, I guess, is their opposites, but he's kind of chill with it. You know, Steve's got a real positive attitude, and Steve's gonna hop up there and you know, Skyreach is just kind of at your command. So it's like I can just sit here over top of the Well of Dragons and keep it secure for the time being, make sure the cultists are all boogered off. Because you remember Blagothgisk has some ogres too at his disposal. So there's like good, you know, his ogres. They might still be, you know, bad on the spectrum of, or I don't know what are ogre evil. They're on a spectrum of evil somewhere in there, but get it. But who isn't?
Yeah,
who isn't?
I'll make sure that it's known that I do intend to go back to Skyreach, but I want to go back to the Sunset Mountains first and just kind of clean up things, make sure there's no baddies still wreathing hell, that kind of thing.
Okay, so you and Krokgar, you know, put your packs over your shoulders and you kind of head to booger off the rest of the baddies that are in that area. I'll say that the hobgoblins were probably the only force that did a solid like fighting retreat and left. And it's one of those things where if you kept pressing after them, it would exhaust the valuable military resources of the Forgotten Realms. So the hobgoblins left the battlefield, like the Many Arrows tribe, you know, like left with them as well. That was a big name tribe that joined in, and they kind of departed off to the north through the forests. You know, heading in the direction of, I've got maps, like the Reaching Woods, I think it's called. So they kind of dismissed through there, but they all headed northward. Sir Estebal and the Cormier folks arrive as well, but they weren't hit as bad as the rest of the world. Lenithon gave them the business for a while, but you know, they're not there for loot or anything. But the Cormier Knights and stuff like that, they're there as well. The Knights of the, what are they? The Purple Dragon Knights? They're there as well. So, so Connor, anything in the area, you know, of the temple before you want to depart in?
Yeah, basically, obviously we just beat Tiamat. Has any of the head scales or anything like that still around from Tiamat, or did it all get dragged back down into the abyss?
Yeah, so she technically like discorporates or whatever. Disincorporates. She just you know turns into all ash stuff, and she just gets sucked into like a a little dot.
Did we kill that? Did we kill that black dragon?
Nope, flew off.
Okay, I was just trying to get some dragon spoils.
I mean, there were outside. Yes, there were. A number of dragons that were killed in the fight. So like
specifically black.
You're looking specifically black dragons? Okay. Yeah.
I don't care what size, but I'm just after getting, I'm not making anything that's going to be any useful. It's just more I just want some black dragon scales.
Okay. Yeah. There's, based on the Knights of Valhalla that were fighting off Vorengor and Menethar or whatever his name was, you find some black dragon scales.
Okay. I'll make sure we put them in the tower.
Okay. Yep, that's no problem, because he was going hard in the paint, or she was going hard in the paint with your last 5 berserkers. So yeah, poor stream.
Is it still being stupid?
Well, that's all I need. That's all I need. And obviously, I make sure that everyone's. If anyone needs any help or anything like that, I just keep an eye out for them.
Okay.
Is anyone that's suffering from a little bit of emotional overload, and make sure everyone's together with it.
Okay. Okay, so you're gonna hang out a little bit and leave. You're gonna be the last one out the door.
Yeah.
Okay. Henry. So you get the book. I'll give you the majors and the minors later, but you know that as you read this thing, like, there's certain texts in it, and you get the sense that you might not be the presence of, the gods from Mount Celestia aren't as present as they were. The artifacts that you have are what are their material presence in Faerun. So, like, you're kind of the conduit at this point. You're overhearing Neverember and Uldar Ravengard, like, raising their voices in the Horde, and Lady Lariel, calming them down and establishing order and things like that.
In classic me fashion, Nick fashion, I will insert myself into their conversation and back up Lady Lariel and kind of listen. And my intent for my backstory is seeing everything that went down here, how there was, communication breakdowns between everybody involved. For Henry, his move now is to figure out how to prevent this from happening again and how to rebuild for everybody else. Namaste.
Okay. Namaste. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you take your role as you get in there, and you've established yourself as one of the big 5 in terms of the Never Embers and the Lady Lariels. You assert yourself. You back Lady Lariel for pragmatism, and it's a word I've been using a lot lately. It's kind of cool, let cooler heads prevail, and to build bridges, vice burn them. And as you do that, let's go ahead and roll charisma with advantage. See how this goes.
Do I get my halo now? How does that work?
Oh, go ahead and roll it. Let's see what happens. Maybe there's an epic scene where this happens.
1.
Did you roll with advantage?
No.
Really?
Yeah, 2 1s in a row.
That's impossible. Okay, yeah. So
it's not.
Neverember basically just storms out. You try to take your time and smooth things out, and it just, you haven't really played the politician quite yet, but it didn't, they kind of like awkwardly look at you, and then they continue arguing it out, and
no halo.
yeah. That due to this circumstance, Neverember, he gets his portion of the loot, but he discontinues building the road to the north. Like, you get the sense that, what was that? It wasn't the high road. What's the road? Yeah, that goes from north to south to Neverember. Like, he basically pulls out of the Mayor of Deadmen, and he consolidates his soldiers and gathers whatever loot he has. And due to the 2-1s, Neverember's attitude kind of stays like Neverember. And Uldar Ravengard does kind of the same thing. He was like, Thavius Krieg didn't show up to this fight. I'm going back to Elturel, and I'm sick of those do-gooders in Elturel. Matter of fact, I'm going around Elturel, and I'm heading straight back to Baldur's Gate. And you realize there's a bit of a fracture between, he was going to head back with the companions, but then it gets to this point where it's just like, I'm done with Elturel. The companions left Fosgundren to his death, and just he takes his flaming fist and gathers his portion of the loot and leaves. I
lift up a finger and I go, hey, don't forget about those trade bars.
He takes them. He's like, he points off at like
trade bars.
Portier, I think her name is, Captain Portier. She takes them and she's like, hey, she talks to you, and she's got a scar on her face, and she's just like, what can you tell me about Chult? That's my next assignment. As she goes and she takes a cloth and puts them over the trade bars. They're a lot heavier, but she's in full plate. But she's like, she can tell you're from Chult, and anything you can recommend.
I'll give her a quick rundown of why I left and how long it's been since I've been in Chult, but there's a lot of weird creatures that
she's like
probably never seen.
All right, she's excited about like taking the axe to pirate scum, and keeping trade routes clean.
Be prepared for some strange creatures. Just be prepared.
Baldur's Gate is kind of like would be the East Indies Company. Didn't we come up with an East Indies Company in this campaign like 3 years ago? I swear we did. We had a equivalent of the East Indies Company. I can't remember, and I guess that backstory just died off. So that. You get that Portier and I forget what the other guy's name is that rolls with Captain Zodge. Captain Zodge is a long-haired, oily-haired, also kind of got the plate, and he leads the procession back to Baldur's Gate. You hear grumblings of Uldar Ravengard, of folks, the Vantampur family trying to usurp him, and he grumbles and departs within. You guys had the Ewok party, right? Like you guys were like playing music on the Stormtroopers helmets and stuff like that. That night, as you break open the meat, this is kind of like day 2, right? Is when they wake up with their hangovers and stuff, and they start arguing with each other over where the loot goes to. The only one that you kind of feel is grumpy about you guys taking the loot that you have is of course Dagalt Neverember. Him and his squad are kind of against that, and Uldar Ravengard doesn't really give a shit. He values martial instinct, more of a Tempest guy. I don't know, I just made it up, but he's but yeah, that's that. Unthar Frume, you kind of see a little bit of a heartbreak there, but when Uldar abandons Elturel and Unthar Frume, he decides to to head north. He's like, I'm gonna head north, maybe go stay some time at Silvery Moon or something like that, or Sundabar, or he's just gonna kind of head north because he thinks that's where kind of like the vacuum of evil kind of lived. Like as everybody shifted south, him being a paladin, he wants to go north to take Boldock. Him and Boldock and the Tempest Guardians.
Hell yeah.
Tempest Guardians, they the next day he gets on his horse and drinks, and he's just like, I'm gonna head north with Brunor and his crew, maybe head up to Mithril Hall for a little bit, and then there's all sorts of issues with giants. He's like, if you didn't notice, giants didn't play a huge role in this. They're kind of up to some shenanigans up in the spine of the world.
I go and put a hand on his shoulder and say, if you're ever coming through Phandalin, stop by. Have a Cthulhu's revenge on me.
You guys, does Henry, you blessed Cara Dune and Manu during this time. You kind of gave them a tearful marriage. Anyways, so he's a cleric of tear.
Yeah.
All right, I ruined the dad joke. And so Manu, where do you initially? So Connor, you said you want to shut the door on everybody leaving. Manu, what's your plan? You've got Kara and you officially adopt Droop.
Prior to leaving the temple, I have to go pick up the old,
Ashes.
Gotta go pick up Ashes and the magic carpet, and figure out how to either get him stuffed or bring him back to life somehow. I don't know how long it's been, if that's even possible.
Henry can raise him if he wants to spend a ritual on it. It would have been an hour in the evening if you want to bring him back.
I can do that.
I can give him a gym. You can have one of my gyms. My 15,000.
So Ash is back. Ow! Ow! whatever an hour says. Oh no, that's right. He talks like this. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Did we discuss that Ash has a lisp?
Yeah. And Dayland Winterhound is gonna leave with his Winterwolf. I think he was gonna cruise with you, right, Kaigon? That you were gonna ask him? Okay. Sorry. Let's see, who's all back? Henry, so Manu, you wanted to pick up your magic carpet, you said?
Yeah, picking up the magic carpet, which was still in the front.
Yep. You noticed that as you pick up the magic carpet, you can kind of notice that it was the thunder carpet.
Yes.
And things do start making sense as you see like someone holding a hammer in it and like fighting some sort of, bat-winged entity, and you see like a figure of Lenathon in it as well. And you can kind of get the sense that it speaks to a portent.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Due to your high wisdom, your low intel, you're like, you can't put two and two together. You're like, oh, I think I've seen that hammer before.
That looks interesting. I just go thunder and ride off into the sunset, I guess.
Okay. Do you want when Daisy and Daryl are there?
No, they are not there at the temple.
Because what's his face wrote it out there? The old paladin, Darren.
Oh, that's right.
Darren has that. He wrote it flat out.
So me, Kara, Droop, Ash, we'll all pile into the wagon and make our way back to Phandalin.
That's in Jamna. I remember Jamna, Connor. She's a Zent. She's there as well. She came down with Blagothkus, and she kind of gives you a heads up that you are, what's her name? Knight. Oh, who was the tiefling that was in charge of the Zentarum? Oh, fandom. Oh man, it's gotta pop up. Let me go to my sources real quick. That's
Ryan Nightshade.
Thank you. So Jamna gives you one of these things like it's you two are the yin and yang of Zentarum right now. Based on what you just did, the Zentarum are kind of, there is a large group of the Zentarum that are following your lead based on deeds. And then there's the purebred lawful evil Zentarum that are run out of Zonathal's tower. That's what she, you know what I mean? That's what she gives you. So there's the Zentarum with a lowercase z and Zentarum with a capital Z. Keanu leaves Zentarum, and then that's so good. And then Dragonoff, you're happy to be there. You were a knight right? Like in your normal keep, doing samurai stuff, because you're kind of, we'll say you're from you're Omnish, you're an Omnish, you're Omnish, which is in the south. It's kind of near, in between Cormier and which kind of gives you a spice Middle Eastern culture, and Cormier being, the first like a Maltese European culture, if you're kind of familiar. Cormier is a pretty big empire. So is an I'll say, to help you with your backstory, you had to keep like a square 4-story keep somewhere where you got yoked up by, you were protecting, a trade route, doing samurai knight stuff, and you got pulled into that. Now the adventure kicked off, and your big moment in your life, you got pulled into a little bit of the Underdark, and you got to fight back Tiamat. So you just landed on the map. You went viral on your first meme, and you got sick. The plate mail. You got your flame tongue +3 and stuff, and yeah, the battle's over. You met like you love at first sight besties, and where do you think, now the battle is kind of over. People did their mead hall things. You kind of watch them from a distance do their mead hall things if you're into that or whatever. Where do you feel like you're going in the next morning as the party breaks up? How long should we let him know? Should anybody tell him?
We can't hear you.
No.
Yeah. Should have let.
What now?
And then Epiona, you're on deck.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm gonna go to Waterdeep and take in some of the culture. Try and make a little bit of money. Honestly, through all the trade routes and the trading that's going on there, I feel like any spirituality that I had, I kind of lost in prison instead of, finding it and going deeper. I kind of lost it, and I just became a little bit bitter. Made my way through the fight. Always enjoyed the fight. So what I'm going to do in Waterdeep is join the city guard and try and rank my way up through there. Kind of build like an army of do-gooders to kind of stop the crime that's going on with all the traders coming through.
Awesome. That's freaking fantastic. Okay. Okay, so Henry, can you hear me in the background? If you can. So check this out. Henry is heading to Waterdeep as well. So you can just, if you want, you know what I mean, like by with and through him setting up his, new cathedral or whatever he's doing, you have an inn straight up as, whether you want to be the head of the constabulary or the Shire Reef to be a sheriff of Waterdeep, but that position, as you go back with Lady Lariel and Manu, you have an inn to design that however you wish, so you can be like, you think of the House Targaryen or whatever, the White Cloaks or whatnot, like you can establish the gendarme. There we go. You can be like the police of the police. Okay, so like, yeah, so you can establish the gendarme of Waterdeep if you want to, and they will give you a title of a masked lord of Waterdeep, and you'll be the only. Oh, let's roll. Do a charisma check with advantage on this. We'll see how it goes. Let's see how your initial take, because this could go south. So as you broach this topic, going. Don't forget you're muted.
Just rolled a nat 20.
Fantastic. So if you don't mind, in Henry, did you hear what he said? He was like losing his faith. So over the next year or so, if you wanted to buddy, you know what I mean, like buddy up and hang out with the lawful goodness now of Henry, the gendarme can work like by, with, and through, and have a headquarters inside his new cathedral or something like that in Waterdeep. But yeah, that Lady Lariel like basically gives you the warrant to just like, yeah, go ahead and clean up our city watch and stuff, because the city watch gets paid however, but you guys can police the city watch. Cool. So you head off that way with that in mindset. So as we're doing this is what I want to go do. As I listen to what everybody says, this is what happened. So
Okay.
Henry, what you wanted to do over the year was bring everybody together, and it was a disaster yeah. So he rolls a nat 20 in the beginning, being like, well, at a minimum, Waterdeep is going to be, while you try to get your shit together, Henry, at a minimum, justice is a thing that's gonna you know what I mean, like at a minimum this is gonna go, and this plays down the right path, because if you want to be a cop or whatever, or the gendarme, that's what Tyr is. And Henry, you can talk to him about being, what Tyr's core values are, and nemasting and stuff like that. You got to say nemaste. But okay, so Epione, the battle's over. The Ewok party happens on Endor. You attune to the dragon mask, and you find yourself completely immune to fire. Matter of fact, despite the fact you're a celestial, there's a little bit of issues with how much you find affinity to fire, which, despite all your eldritch powers and stuff like that have a more tinge of fire coming out of it due to this path. I'll say the crown takes the form that you wish, but it will have all 5 dragon heads on it, with a smaller black dragon head, due to the fact that side was destroyed. So it has it's got like the red dragon mat, it's more prominent, and then it's got the rest of them, but the black dragon mask will always be, I don't want to use the term lame, you know what I mean, but like it's by the definition, it's lamer than the other ones. It's more
oh man, I got 4 dragons.
if we got like one black dragon mask, it's got, it's like just all the other ones like fierce, and then like there's like
one, that meme.
yeah, there's one like big goofy eyes. Yeah,
I'll say, does it look like The Apprentice did that one?
yeah, yes, exactly.
All right, well, after I'm done with my acquired mask, I am gonna set off for Canopy to go learn everything I can about the abyss.
Yep.
Just because I have a calling to go and
Yep. Can you do me a favor, if you've got Twitch on or something like that?